What's going on, everybody? This is JohnJake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the Conference USA Dynasty here on EA College Football 25. We've made it through the entirety of the offseason here in this episode, in the last episode, but today we embark on our first full season of Conference USA football. See if we can build this conference up into a powerhouse G5 conference that's constantly going to the college football playoff. We saw Liberty make the college football playoff last season at the end of our prelude year, in year number 0 technically. But now it's a brand new slate, and I can't wait to see what the boys can do, what this entire conference can do. But it starts here in these early games, in these early episodes. We'll see who is going to be able to set a tone, who will rise to the top in this conference, and who is going to remain at the bottom, so to speak. So it should be a fun one. Hope you guys are excited for the entire video, man. If you are, make sure you go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. And with that being said, before we even get into what we got going on, let's go ahead and check out some of the custom players that'll now be a part of this series. And so we'll go ahead and get started here, and I'm going to start in alphabetical order because that's usually how I go about doing things. So starting off at Florida International, they do have a custom player on the squad, man. JT Thompson out of Winter Garden, Florida. He is going to be someone that's going to be the third string running back for the time being. But after Shamari Lawrence graduates, there is a chance of a battle between Devontae Leons and JT Thomas, alongside TJ Snowden as well. It's definitely a battle to monitor for next season. But for now, Shamari Lawrence is going to have the reins as the main running back for this Florida International offense. Meanwhile, at Jacksonville State, we do have a middle linebacker here by the name of Heyman Booty. Heyman Booty is actually a one-star recruit out of Las Vegas. He is going to be a little bit of a project. However, he does have pretty good speed for a linebacker, 80 speed and 82 acceleration as well. So there's certainly upside with Heyman Booty, but he's certainly someone that will probably need to be redshirted because, you know, you do have a DeLon DeLoach who is going to be able to at least solidly hold things down here in year number 1. Meanwhile, for Louisiana Tech, we actually have multiple custom players on the roster. One is EJ Dillashaw out of Columbia, Mississippi. This is someone that absolutely has upside to be special. Dillashaw is someone that comes in with 90 speed, so if he can get on the field, this is someone that could be an absolute weapon. He's the fastest player, you know, probably would challenge Caden Salter as the fastest quarterback in the entire conference. However, he's going to be buried on the depth chart for the time being, as we do have Evan Bullock, who is one of the captains on this team starting. But with that being said, not a bad spot for EJ Dillashaw because he has a chance to develop in terms of learning how to play that quarterback position at the college level. And then you also have Jody Gentry out of Mendeville, Louisiana as well, playing at that wide receiver position. Does carry some good speed and 90 speed and 90 acceleration as well, but just needs that understanding of the playbook, as well as trying to figure out how to be a more consistent route runner. His medium and deep route running leave more to be desired, but someone that definitely can hurt you as a burner as well. And that really could be said about this Louisiana Tech receiving core. They certainly have a fair number of burners that Evan Bullock can throw to this upcoming season. Speaking of those wide receivers, we have another custom by the name of Zach Davis, who hails out of Cornelius, North Carolina. For Zach Davis, he does come in with that, decent speed, but is going to be someone that is going to have to really work on his game. He's going to have his work really cut out for him, even though there is several seniors graduating following this year. This is someone that I expect to be redshirted this upcoming season. As for Sam Houston, they were able to get someone out of Bend, Oregon to come down and play college football here in Texas. Another guy that is going to be buried on the depth chart, and to be honest, he could be someone that probably better served playing as either as a safety or converting into a linebacker in the future if he wants to have a serious chance of contributing at the Division 1 FBS level. 84 speed for a corner is a little bit on the slow side, but he does at least carry a mental ability, so he is someone that is gonna absolutely have to be one of those like developmental projects, someone that also I would expect to see be redshirted in his freshman year. And finally, for UTEP, UTEP actually managed to sign a couple of custom players in this particular recruiting class. One of them is Perry Matthews out of Goodyear, Arizona. He's got that fan favorite mental ability. He actually has a slight chance to see the field in his true freshman campaign, as he is only behind Dylan Brown Turner, the sophomore redshirt out of Dallas, Texas. But other than that, he's going to be listed as maybe that second like outside linebacker on the right hand side. Probably a little bit on the slow side for your traditional linebacker, but someone that absolutely could be a solid pass rusher if given an opportunity to step on the field. And he also has that obvious ability to stop the run based on his card. Meanwhile, at the quarterback position, Caleb Moore has enrolled onto campus as the freshman out of Phoenix, Arizona is going to be, it's just one of those guys that he does have the ability to improvise, is pretty good at extending plays outside the pocket, even though he may not be the fastest quarterback on this roster. They do have a few options ahead of him right now, but he is the best freshman, like slightly leading over Brian Andrea, who also comes out of the state of Arizona, funny enough. So definitely has the potential to start in the future, but for now, Caleb Moore will likely be redshirted as a true freshman as well. Alright boys, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get things underway. A brand new season of Conference USA, and we'll start off with a early morning kickoff. This is about 11:30 as FIU is going to open the season up against a fellow in-conference opponent in Sam Houston. And Sam Houston, looking to build off of what they did last season. Was in the hunt for the Conference USA championship, but couldn't quite make it. Well, FIU was on the verge of making it to a bowl game. They're looking to be a bowl eligible team here in 2025. So let's see how both teams can go ahead and set the tone as we'll go ahead and pick things up here late in the first quarter. FIU does carry a 3-0 lead. Going with the play action, firing over the middle, and it's caught for a big time touchdown. And that is going to be your first touchdown in Conference USA here within the 2025 football season, and it was a dot to Quavis Humphreys, the senior wide receiver, on that skinny post route and dropped it right in the bucket. So Sam Houston was in fact able to take the lead off of that, but a couple minutes left here in this first half. We will see FIU find the end zone themselves for the very first time in the 2025 season, and because of that, FIU will be taking, looks like possibly a 13-10 lead into the halftime locker room. It's a little bit of a slower start. Both teams definitely feeling each other out here a little bit, as now we'll go ahead and jump into the second half. At this point, we do have a tie ball game here, 13 apiece, and Sam Houston's going to hand it off to their superstar running back, John Gentry, who was a key piece of that offense last season. And here he is getting his first rushing touchdown of the 2025 campaign. And it'll also put Sam Houston back out in front, as well as the senior does help the Bearcats take a 20-13 lead. And now we'll go ahead and jump into the fourth quarter of action. Just 10 minutes left to play in the ball game, as FIU is going to go ahead and fire it out to Keontae Jones, but he can't get the ball off, and it's fumbled. Sam Houston's going to recover, and they will recover it at about midfield. And if there was a moment in time where we could genuinely see this Sam Houston team pull away here in week number 1, this drive could absolutely be that moment, and it definitely was. Sam Houston is going to rattle off 10 unanswered after that fumble recovery here in the fourth quarter. So now FIU is down big, but they're not going to go down without a complete fight, though, as FIU is going to find a man in the end zone, doing it off of that go pattern, and FIU will at least finish stronger offensively, but I mean, this is just to make the score look a little bit better than what actually transpired here. Great pocket that Keontae Owens has to work with there. And so Sam Houston, even with giving that touchdown in the final couple of minutes of the ball game, Sam Houston is going to open the season out going on the road and beating this FIU squad 30-20, being your final score. And so the Bearcats will start the year off 1-0, while FIU, they're going to be 0-1 and will have to travel next week, which we'll actually see multiple weeks in this episode. We'll see FIU later take on Georgia Tech on the road, where I believe Sam Houston is going to be taking on Utah State, which should also be a road game as well. So more to come on that front. So while we did end up having, while we were waiting for like our later games in week 1 to start, we had a couple of other games that weren't nationally televised that I definitely wanted to bring to your attention. How about Kennesaw State? The Owls come out and win 16-10, doing it on the road against a power conference opponent. What a way to start out this season. And listen, it was a low-scoring affair. There is certainly no question about it, but the Kennesaw State Owls, they did just enough to come out on top, and they're going to start the season out 1-0. But then another game that we saw happen was regionally televised, was New Mexico State going on the road against Louisiana Tech. And what we really saw was kind of a tale of two different teams. New Mexico State did a much better job of establishing the run, while Louisiana Tech, they threw for over 300 yards in the game. And the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, they do just enough to come out on top. An absolutely exciting shootout that we got to witness, as the Bulldogs will come out on top 34-31 in order to win their opener. Alright, so let's go ahead and continue week number 1 action, as we will actually get a rematch of the Conference USA Championship game between Western Kentucky and the Liberty Flames. Liberty getting to host the Conference USA Championship game back in that 2024 season from that end-of-year sim that we did. And now here we are once again opening the season up against two teams that did play in that championship game last season. And once again, it is at home here at LT Williams Stadium within Lynchburg, Virginia, as the Liberty Flames will look to get off to a strong start in conference play as well. And so far, that is in fact happening. Liberty actually will jump out to a 10-0 lead, as Caden Vandenkamp, who is able to force TJ Finley and the transfer portal, gonna fire over the middle, but that is an ill-advised throw, and Liberty will take over inside the 30-yard line. First down for the Liberty Flames. And you want to talk about a microcosm in how this particular game has started. We just saw it right there in that particular play. Liberty just looking like the much more focused team here so far, while Western Kentucky still trying to get its bearings as they start the 2025 season. So yeah, back to Liberty having the football once again. Caden Salter is going to keep it on the read option. He's dangerous in the open field, and it's going to be in the end zone. Was able to stretch the ball across the goal line as he was being brought down from behind. And Caden Salter is going to score once again. I mean, look at this open space that Caden Salter has. I mean, how are you going to crash down on a freshman running back? That is absolutely wild to me. And so Liberty jumps out now to a 20-0 lead before Caden Heidkamp finally remembers how to play football. Is going to throw a deep ball up to Easton Messer for his very first catch of the day. Goes for 42 yards. And finally, this Western Kentucky team might be cooking something up, but they got to convert this third down. in order to keep the drive alive. 3rd and 9, facing pressure, fires to the left-hand side and finds a man for a huge first down as Caden Veinkamp is now sitting at over 100 yards passing as it leads to 1st and goal from the 2-yard line. Veinkamp in the shotgun, fires quickly over the middle and finds a receiver. And for the very first time in the 2025 season, Western Kentucky is going to find itself on the board. They will finally score in this marquee matchup here within the Conference USA. As now we are staring down a 20-7 game. As Western Kentucky is slowly starting to claw its way back in, but early in the second half, this Liberty squad has a chance to shut the door as Salter is going to dump it off to the tailback, who is going to almost waltz into the end zone, doesn't run into any resistance until he gets to just about the goal line, but still great vision there by Caden Salter, identifying the check down, and the check down doing the rest of the work there, as that was actually the freshman fullback, Brandon Cummings, who was able to get open there. Not the best throw in the world, but hey, still gets the job done at the end of the day. And Liberty now jumps out to a 27-10 lead as Veinkamp is desperate to respond. Firing to the right-hand side. He's got an open man, and it's a big-time throw. Touchdown for the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. And WKU starting to claw right back in, and maybe could be looking for a photo finish a little bit more so, as Willie Taggart Jr. is able to get wide, butt naked open in the back of the secondary, just taking the top off the defense there. And so Western Kentucky does make it a 2-possession game, but with that being said, Liberty, who has been hot offensively all day long, they need to get a stop, and they just aren't going to get it today. It's been that kind of day for this Hilltoppers defense to open the season up, and Liberty is going to score again. This time it's Jenkins off of a mesh concept, just a little bit of a drag route and able to run away from the linebacker. And that's why this Liberty team is just so hard to stop, it seems like at times, as not only do they have the best quarterback in the conference in Caden Salters, obviously, but in addition to that, there's a bunch of weapons that Caden Salter has to work with, as Western Kentucky is just trying to do its very best to, try to make this an inkling of a game, but I think it's going to go in the exact opposite direction there, as Braylon Green is going to take it right back to the crib after he gets another Veinkamp interception, a 54-yard pick six. And that is how this story looks like it's going to go, it seems like, as Liberty will score yet again. They put a 40-burger up. And while Western Kentucky, with this final drive of the game, and probably one of the last plays of the game here, they're going to score here. At the end of the day, we all knew what happened here, right? This was a classical beating, and Liberty showing that they are once again a threat to win the Conference USA, and they want to make it known for sure, as Liberty will come out on top. They win 45-24, being your final score, and just a great finish by this Liberty team, winning 18-7 in that final quarter. Salters wasn't the most efficient passer, only completed 55% of his passes, but threw for 140 yards, 3 touchdown passes, was able to get another touchdown on the ground as well. So really good day all around. West Kentucky did throw for over 400 yards, but that was more out of necessity. Would like to see that defense play a lot better though. As now we'll go on to the rest of our week number 1 slate. UTEP going on the road to take on Utah State. Should be an intriguing matchup here. Neither team really that close to going to a bowl game. And we'll see which team can go off to a better start. Now, UTEP, we did mention, was a team to certainly watch out for here in this 2025 campaign, because UTEP, while they didn't sign the best overall recruiting class over the course of the signing period, what we did end up witnessing, though, was that, hey, this team was, in fact, able to sign the best high school recruiting class. So it is going to take some time, but if UTEP can really put together another class or two in this series, and we really could be looking at a team that could hang with like the Liberties and the Western Kentuckys of the world. But first, before they can even worry about, taking that step towards being a contender in this conference, it starts with winning this game. You're playing against a similarly talented roster in Utah State. You're doing it on the road, though. But Avante Dickerson getting the interception there, not what you are looking for. And Utah State is looking to turn around and make this a touchdown off of the turnover, as Utah State is going to make us pay for throwing that football in errant coverage. And Utah State jumps out to a 10-0 lead here late in this first half of action. And early on, it seems like we are seeing that same UTEP team that took the field back in the 2024 season. Really not the start that you're looking for with this coaching staff right here, right? But still a little bit of time left in this first half that they can still retake momentum. And it starts with a nice throw over the middle and finding his receiver, Emmanuel Moore. Seems like that was what his name was. Fourth catch of the day already, 59 yards. They love going to this talented young man, and those crossing routes over the middle of the field, they are open on this particular drive, but unfortunately the drive will stall out with 3 consecutive incompletions, so UTEP will have to settle for a field goal. But with that being said, at least they were in fact able to go ahead and force the get on the scoreboard for the very first time in the 2025 season. And honestly, this defense has been playing pretty well too. So if they could just come out and just put points on the board, get to about mid-20s or something like that, then UTEP could be in a really good spot, and this would certainly help. Azeel Jolly, the freshman running back, it gets a big time run, and you know what? They go back to him again, but the freshman puts the ball on the ground on the very next carry. Might have been a little bit too tired, probably should have been a substitution there. And once again, Utah State will take over after Ike Larson falls on the fumble. So another golden opportunity lost here for this UTEP squad, as this is now the second time that UTEP was able to get into Utah State territory, but then proceed to turn the ball over. So we'll see if it turns into a third time, and it does. They turn the ball over on downs there as well. Just a sloppy offensive performance for the Miners, as this game is certainly in the taking, but they just aren't taking advantage of it. However, that will change when a wide butt-naked open man is able to catch the ball, and that is going to be an easy 30-yard touchdown. Campbell honestly could probably have just waltzed his way in if he truly wanted to do that. And Utah, thanks to the throw to Raphael Campbell, the sophomore wide receiver, he will tie this thing up. I mean, look at this. No one went with him after he did that initial corner route, which is completely wild to me. But hey, mistakes certainly happen in college football, and definitely a lot of volatility when you got 18 to 22-year-old kids. Speaking of Campbell is going to be able to get a nice catch off of the seam route, and it eventually helps set up a short running touchdown for Azeel Jolly. And he's feeling pretty good about himself there. Azeel Jolly able to find the end zone. Touchdown UTEP, and the Miners are actually going to go ahead. They will in fact take the lead as Azeel Jolly gives the Miners their first lead of the season. But with that being said, 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and UTEP again is driving. They can put the nail in the coffin, and that might be enough. UTEP might have just put this thing away, as Campbell is going to have his second receiving touchdown of the night. The UTEP Miners will now have a 2-touchdown lead, as Raphael Campbell just loves finding that space. A little bit better covered, but still had enough separation to get some space there for sure. And now all of a sudden, this Utah State team, which played really well in the first half defensively, they are struggling to get stops, and now they need this offense to get going here, and this could turn the tables A huge touchdown throw down the sideline. And just like that, Utah State is only in need of one singular stop. That's all they're asking for, chat, after Kamano Davis takes the top off the secondary. And yeah, man, we'll just have to wait and see if they can actually get that stop. But they are indeed looking for, as here we are with 3rd and 5. They don't get the onside kick. And matter of fact, UTEP, they actually do go ahead and take a knee. But instead of just running the rest of his clock off, they actually trot their field goal unit out. And this is an interesting call here, because if this was blocked, they could have returned this for a touchdown and forced overtime. However, the kick was successful. It is good. And so UTEP, in the interest of trying to do a little bit of stat padding, they do get a field goal at the very last second. And they're going to be able to leave Provo, Utah with a 27-17, actually Logan, Utah, my bad, a 27-17 victory. Good performance here by UTEP as they will open the season going 1-0. You absolutely do love to see it, as UTEP is going to have a little bit more difficult competition moving forward, and that's something to definitely watch out for. Now, one of the last games that we do have in week number 1 is Mid-Tennessee State, who is going to have a brand new quarterback. Nicholas Vitello has transferred to Alabama, and we actually could see him later on in this episode, because Mid-Tennessee State does play Alabama in week number 2. But for right now, they will go ahead and take on this Jacksonville State Gamecock squad, as Jacksonville State is running out onto the field for their home opener, a night game under the lights here at Burgess Snow Field at JSU Stadium, seeing if they can take down their conference rival in Mid-Tennessee State, led by a brand new quarterback. So we'll see what this offense is all about for the Blue Raiders, as for now they're just going to go ahead and keep it on the ground, and it works extremely well. So actually the Blue Raiders will go ahead and draw that first blood here in the first week of the regular season in their first matchup against the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, as that will give them a 7-0 lead, courtesy of sophomore running back Jaquil Middlebrook. As you can see, the quick replay real fast, the blocking was fantastic. We'll see if Jacksonville State can respond, as Zion Turner's going to drop back on a 3rd and 10. He's got a man open down the middle of the field, and Zion Turner is going to pick up the first down with his arm, as it will eventually lead to really a methodical drive for the Gamecocks that will culminate in a touchdown over the middle of the field, as Zion Turner is going to be able to respond in kind with a 6+ minute drive. But Patway is going to make sure that this game is going to be all knotted up here late in the first quarter, as Michael Petway was able to find a soft spot in the zone coverage and was able to go ahead and take advantage. However, Mid-Tennessee State's next possession goes pretty well, as they run an RPO down on the goal line. And don't look now, this Blue Raider offense is actually not looking too bad at all. Hostrap was wide but naked open on the RPO. He probably could have crib walked his way into the end zone if he really wanted to do that. He doesn't, but Ryan Horskamp, the senior tight end, what he will do though is he will go ahead and give this Blue Raider squad the lead back once more. And we actually don't see very much more scoring until we get beyond the 2-minute timeout. Zion Turner is going to get a really nice throw over the middle of the field and will set up a red zone opportunity. So we'll see what Zion Turner and company does with it. Less than 1:10 left to play in the first half. Zion got all the time in the world, fires over the right-hand side. He's got a crosser who waltzes into the end zone. Touchdown, Jacksonville State. And the Gamecocks do end up finding McCants. Zion Turner as well is going to have his second passing touchdown of the evening, as that will make it 14 all going into the half. Now we'll go ahead and jump right into that third quarter of action after the halftime break. Did force Mid-Tennessee State to get an initial stop, and this will be the first lead that Jacksonville State will have all night long. Touchdown Gamecocks, and Jacksonville State is going to go ahead and make it a 21-14 game as Michael Petway once again making his presence felt. That's his second touchdown of the day. It's kind of had to contort his body a little bit, but makes up for it by breaking the tackle. And Zion Turner is going to make sure to give the Gamecocks a lead. However, late in the third quarter, Blue Raiders down by the goal line once again, relying on that ground game. And it's just going back and forth. Mid-Tennessee just choosing to be a little bit more on that methodical side of things, while Jacksonville State at the same time, though, going ahead and employing a pretty good attack here, making it 21-all, as Jaden Cradle, the senior running back, dives into the end zone there. So now, midway through the fourth quarter of action, as Jacksonville State, realizing they're going to need to score here if they want to win this game, going to run it up the middle, and Zion Turner, so much space to work with there, is going to be dropped, but not before getting inside the 25-yard line there. So Gamecocks, they are certainly in field goal range, as that tackle is certainly not going to help them out. That's going to back them up a few yards. Still is in field goal range, but because of that particular sack, though, what that does mean is that Parker Hughes, the senior linebacker, one, he gets a sack, but it's still going to be less than a 40-yard attempt. This is from 38 yards out. The kick is up, and it is, in fact, going to be good. And so Jacksonville State has the lead, and they will hold on to the lead for the rest of this game, potentially, as we get down to really last 11 seconds left, trying to make something, literally anything, happen there, but taking a sack, and that will let the clock hit 0 before, and I mean well before, anyone even has a chance to get set and possibly try to spike this ball. Really an interesting game. It really lets us know that, hey, Middle Tennessee State, they actually might be better than, what we mentioned in the previews. But they just don't have enough, as Jacksonville State, with that culture, they do end up winning 24-21, and maybe lets us know that, hey, Jacksonville State, they might not have the same talent as last year, but, could be an underrated team. So that was actually going to round up the week 1 action, and we're actually not going to waste any further time, in the interest of, trying to condense this video down a little bit more. Didn't have any, we didn't have any national player of the week performances in our conference, nothing like that. So we're going to go ahead and jump into week number 2 already, and week number 2 has some more interesting action unfolding right in front of our eyes, and it really is an opportunity for our conference to have a bunch of bye games per se. And the first one of those is Louisiana Tech going on the road to take on the LSU Tigers out of that vaunted SEC conference, coming in ranked number 11 in the country. Now, Louisiana Tech, they certainly can score. They can put points on the scoreboard, but really the big time question is, can they stop all of these playmakers that LSU has? Not to mention they do have an experienced quarterback in Grant Nussmeier. And so far, David Blay, at least the senior defensive tackle, shown that he came to play, forcing the LSU Tigers in a 3rd and long. So this is really where you want to be at the very least, but Nussmeier is going to find a wide open man anyways in LSU, which I don't think anyone is going to be surprised about when I utter this out of my mouth. LSU is going to put the first points up on the scoreboard. They will take a 7-0 lead. And yeah, this could be, if Louisiana Tech is going to win today, they are going to have to win through shutout, because in the opening matchup against New Mexico State, they did put up 34 in that win on the road against the Aggies of New Mexico State, but they also gave up 31 to a Conference USA team. LSU is on a different level, so really need guys on offense to step up today, but this offensive line might have its hands full all afternoon long, man. because they certainly got after him there, as Weeks, the junior linebacker, laying the lumber and eventually sets up a 3rd and 9. Really getting loud in the stadium, one of the toughest places to play in America, but it doesn't matter though. Louisiana Tech is gonna strike back, and all of a sudden we may have a game on our hands after all. Late in this first quarter, in Louisiana Tech, man, they are going to be tied with the number 11 team in the country, courtesy of Jay Wilkerson, who wears number 47. I mean, that is such a diabolical number to wear as a wide receiver. Just an ugly number to wear there. But he gets a touchdown anyways, but they're going to need a lot more than those if they want to keep up with LSU, because at the drop of a hat, LSU can certainly score at any given moment, and that's certainly evident here as we start to get close to the end of the first half, as Jelani Watkins, the freshman wide receiver, is able to expose everybody on the back end and gets a wide butt naked open touchdown. As now 1st and 10 yet again with 1:11 left in the ball game, as you know, unfortunately the Bulldogs did go 3 and out. This is exactly what I was worried about. This was the moment where things just really started to fall apart for this Bulldogs team, and why they were reminded that they were put on the schedule for a certain reason. And this is not even a wide receiver doing this. This is a running back, Caden Durham, on the wheel route, and because Nussmeier had enough time, was able to see that the running back was on a linebacker. And I mean, it was just barbecue chicken after that. But again, Louisiana Tech go 3 and out. So Nussmeier, at this point, he's just kind of teeing off here. But this pass actually ends up being underthrown by Nussmeier, and it's a great first half performance. 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Really should be talking about how he has a 4th passing touchdown right there, but not going to necessarily kill them though, because of course we will end up seeing LSU score yet again. So Nussmeier, while he was delayed by maybe a play or two, Nussmeier will indeed have his 4th passing touchdown of the half, as Savion Thomas is going to have his 2nd touchdown of the day. And I mean, it's just a all-you-can-eat buffet in our secondary, man. And so at this point, just looking for anything positive to take out of this game. We knew that Louisiana Tech was going to be outmatched here thus far, but, didn't think it was going to be this bad, especially with how they started, with that 7-0 lead. So the field goal is up, and it's going to be good. As now LSU, after they gave up a field goal, they go play action with Nussmeier. And stop me if you heard this one before, but Nussmeier is going to, in fact, get into the end zone. Touchdown Tigers. Nussmeier again finding a receiver. And I want to say we're starting to lose count, but that might have been his 5th, or could even be a 6th touchdown, it feels like. I honestly lost count at this point, but one thing that I do know is that we are absolutely down horrendous at the moment, as LSU is up 44-10 and really just trying to make anything happen here. But it's only getting worse. It's only getting so much worse here, man, as LSU is going to get the interception there as well. And that is going to set the Tigers up with great field position. Not that they need it. I mean, they already have a 40-burger on the scoreboard. And after that, really the backup started to get a little bit more playing time. And LSU puts up a 60-burger led by Garrett Nussmeier. He ends up throwing for 6 passing touchdowns. And it was just one of those days. Now, one of the games that I was most intrigued about when the schedules first came out, however, was Western Kentucky. They're going to take on the Ragin' Cajuns. Now, the Ragin' Cajuns are not the biggest program in the country, or not even in the state of Louisiana. That's obvious, because that title obviously belongs to LSU, right? But why this game is important is, remember in the offseason, TJ Finley ended up transferring out of Western Kentucky, and he ends up winding up here at Louisiana. Actually gets named the starting quarterback of the Raging Cajuns. And so we have Caden Weidkamp taking on his former backup TJ Finley in an early season matchup at the Our Lord of Ladies Stadium. And we'll see what TJ Finley can do. Starting out with him midway through the first quarter. Ton of time in the pocket. Literally has all day. Finally finds a man open over the middle of the field. And TJ Finley is going to get him down inside the 15-yard line. It's a good first drive for the Raging Cajuns as TJ Finley gets them in their first red zone opportunity today. Setting up an RPO, and it's going to be in the end zone. Touchdown, Raging Cajuns. As Louisiana will get the drop on the Hilltoppers first, making it a 7-0 affair here midway through the first quarter of action here in the confines of Lafayette, Louisiana. However, Caden Weidkamp, unlike that last matchup against Liberty, gonna play a lot better as Weidkamp. He's not known for his mobility. He's actually what I would consider to be a little bit more of a pocket passer, by today's standards. But Weidkamp at the same time, though, realized that everyone was crashing down on his tailback. Nobody was really watching over him, and Caden Weidkamp, he's just going to run it in himself, completely untouched. That might be one of the easier rushing touchdowns he has all season long. We'll go ahead and jump into the second quarter, however, as Weidkamp facing some pressure, but fires over the middle. Nice job there on the scramble drill. So Weidkamp is also able to go ahead and get a passing touchdown as well to Willie Tackert Jr., who had a receiving touchdown in the loss to Liberty to open up this season earlier in this episode. But this one at least seems like it's going to be a lot more meaningful, that touchdown was, as it gives the Hilltoppers the lead, as they're going to try to build on it here with less than 4 minutes left in the half. Firing over the middle on the post route, and it's caught! Touchdown to Emmanuel Messer. And Messer is going to let Western Kentucky score again. The Hilltoppers did not eclipse 20 points until really that final drive of the game. But here we are, still a full half to play after this, and they've already eclipsed 20 points. So you love to see that immediate improvement, especially because they're doing it on the road as well. And now, all of a sudden, TJ Finley is feeling a lot more of that pressure, because TJ Finley, throwing it into traffic to try and maybe gets his team back into the game. Feels like he has to be great and not just simply manage the game. But with that being said, though, Western Kentucky is going to go ahead. They will get the interception courtesy of DeMarco Williams, the senior. And after that, Western Kentucky really starts to pull away here. Gonna hand it off to the tailback, who gets an easy touchdown. Doesn't even have to deal with any contact until well after he's able to find his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Hilltoppers. And Western Kentucky will indeed get that 31-10 lead. Jalen Hampton able to lay the shoulder down. And now it's really the last meaningful score that we saw here. But I want to cut to this 2-minute warning here, because you would think they would just kneel it down and just go ahead and call it a day. They choose not to do that. They give it to Jalen Hampton yet again. And Hampton actually is getting close to 200 yards rushing, especially after that burst of a run for the senior running back. And so, even though the Hilltoppers are still obviously going to run this clock, they are going to keep it on the ground here. No, it's not. It's a play action. Weidkamp finds a man, and it's a score. Touchdown, Western Kentucky. And the Hilltoppers, man, west of Western Kentucky, well, they are going to get yet another one up on the scoreboard. Demeek Sterling, the junior wide receiver, able to get that one into the scoreboard. So a little bit of maybe bad blood being built for down the line. They could have just dealed it out. Definitely didn't need that last touchdown, especially with the stars in the game. But Caden Velkamp's stats look a lot better. A 75% completion percentage, 330 yards, 4 touchdowns. And the TJ Finley revenge game for not starting him during the 2024 campaign, it ends up not happening after all. And not that Finley was terrible. He did have a touchdown this one, but also threw an interception. Velkamp definitely showed why he was that starting quarterback for the entirety of the 2024 campaign. Now, with that being said, we'll see some more Conference USA. First SEC magic here as Mid-Tennessee State. After a devastating loss to Jacksonville State, it was a little bit of a heartbreaker, to be honest with you. Well, now they have to go travel to take on number 4 ranked Alabama, led by the second-year head coach, Kalen DeBoer. As Kalen DeBoer, you know, his Alabama squad was barely left out of the playoffs. A little bit of controversy there in that 2024 campaign. But, you know, that just goes to show, like, hey, maybe don't lose to 6-6 Vanderbilt or 6-6 Oklahoma. Don't get blown out by them, especially. And if Alabama would have won one of those games, they would have been in the playoffs. And I'm not just talking about in this game. I'm talking about in real life as well, right? So, with that being said, we'll go ahead and jump into the 2025 season as Nicholas Vitellia, who actually transferred out to Alabama after being the starting quarterback for the Blue Raiders last season. So, he transfers out of the program, and not only does he not end up being the starting quarterback for the Blue Raider or for Alabama, Vitellia on this depth chart is actually like the third string quarterback, because Alabama actually did bring in a couple of other transfers, because Jalen Daniels actually transfers in from Kansas to Alabama in this like particular I guess like simulation, right? And Alabama actually jumps off to a little bit of a slower start here. They only put up 13 points. Really think about 2024 USF game, like for context, it kind of has that feel to it where, you know, Alabama's winning, and they've been winning the whole time, obviously, because the Blue Raiders haven't scored yet. But at the same time, you know, Blue Raiders just kind of hanging around, and, you know, a few minutes left here in this first half. If you can find your way into the end zone here, then all of a sudden you're going to make this a one-possession game late in the first half. And then we would certainly have those upset alert bells ringing at a full 10 out of 10 right now, right? But Jeremiah Breeman's trying to prevent that. The freshman defensive end able to get home against his Blue Raider offensive line, and they'll have to settle for a field goal. So Blue Raiders, they do get on the scoreboard at the very least, but it is only a field goal, so they're going to still be down by a couple of possessions, as that is just lining them up like a Christmas tree. And that's been the story today for Richardson, who takes over for Nicholas Vitellia after he does enter the transfer portal last offseason. And really a welcome to the SEC type moment. This Alabama defensive front now has 5 sacks in the game. But even then, Reiser's still able to get some good throws in every once in a blue moon there. As now we got 3rd and long coming up. Going to try to set on the halfback draw. And it was a good idea in principle and on paper, but just couldn't execute well enough. And so Blue Raiders are actually going to try a 52-yard field goal, but no problem for this kicker as it's up through the uprights. And so Mid-Tennessee State is still hanging around. They are still certainly hanging around. As look at this score going into deep in the 4th quarter. Alabama still only up by 10. Jalen Daniels has not had a very good day, I guess, by Alabama standards. Granted, I know that Jalen Daniels is more known as a kind of like a dual threat quarterback, and not as much known with his arms there. Does at least connect with Ryan Williams there, the sophomore wide receiver. Was considered one of the best wide receivers in America. You know, in this, even as a true freshman, you know, really the only freshman wide receiver that might have been better than him was Jeremiah Smith. But Jeremiah Smith, of course, you know, already has a 1,000-yard campaign in real life, and you know, could see him. You know, let's see how he balls out against Oregon. That'll be a good one here. But Late in the game, Kellen Stewart, the senior wide receiver for the Blue Raiders, finally able to find a soft spot in the Alabama defense and, really almost found a way to incomplete that pass, but thankfully was able to get it done there and reel it in anyways. So Bama's only up by 10 points here, and why that's significant is if Alabama's held to a field goal here and Blue Raiders are able to get the ball back, then we really could be looking at a spot to where, hey, maybe the Blue Raiders could in fact make a comeback happen. You truly never know, especially with the EA College Football Sim engine, right? So 1st and 10 here. Jalen Daniels does have a lot of time to throw, finds Ryan Williams, and Ryan Williams could not get it into the end zone there. However, with that being said, Jalen Milroe, actually not Jalen Milroe, but Ryan Williams is going to get it down to the 1-yard line. So 1st and goal from the 1, and we're going to see him throw one more touchdown here, and that should really just about do it there, as Young is going to find the end zone again. Alabama is going to go on and obviously win this game, but hey, make no mistake, Mid-Tennessee State, they certainly hung around, and I thought they played a lot better than at least what Louisiana Tech did. So if I'm a Blue Raiders fan right now, I'm feeling really encouraged by what I saw in this Alabama game, being able to hang around with them as long as they did. Jalen Daniels does get named player of the game, 263 touchdown passes, 60% completion percentage, but it was not that impressive offensively for Bama. They really did not wake up to that 4th quarter of action, and it really does give the 2024 USF game and also the 2023 season too. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and keep things rolling here. A string of nationally televised games between our conference and Power 4 conference teams. This time it's FIU making the drive from Miami, Florida to Atlanta to take on Georgia Tech out of the ACC in this early season non-conference matchup, as well as both teams are getting ready to touch the field, as FIU is coming off of a 30-20 loss to Sam Houston in week number 1 in conference play. So this will be FIU's first non-conference game of the season, and we'll see how FIU does in this particular matchup, as we'll go ahead and cut away to 9 minutes left in the 1st quarter. Keontae Owens is in the shotgun, fakes the handoff, has some time, fires over the middle, and he's got a big-time target downfield as Keontae Jenkins able to put it on a rope there, and it puts FIU inside the 30-yard line. Definitely a scoring opportunity for the Panthers as Jenkins drops back again, throws to the end zone, but it was extremely well covered there. Might have been feeling just a little bit too greedy after the big pass play on that previous play. And yeah, Georgia Tech is going to write on their little whiteboard there, to let it be known, hey, we just got our first turnover of the game, and you already know we don't want to be done just yet. Amari Harvey there, by the way, getting the interception. And while Georgia Tech does not find its groove offensively in the 1st quarter, the defense still playing extremely well, as we'll go ahead and cut to early in the 2nd quarter. Jenkins throwing to the left-hand side, and this could end up in the end zone. Yes, it does. Touchdown FIU, and the Panthers on the road in a power conference environment, mind you. Fournette is going to make it a 7-0 lead here. And sure enough, FIU will find the lead, and Keontae Jenkins also doing a good job. A much better job being patient, reading the coverage, but it all is thanks to that offensive line, who was able to really help out tremendously there. So now FIU with a 7-0 lead. As we jump a little bit later into the 2nd quarter of action, Jenkins dropping back, fires over the middle. He's got an open receiver. It's the tight end, but he's running out of juice. Oh, man, that is a little bit embarrassing. That should have been a touchdown if that boy had average speed. Man, that is so wild to see, and it cost them points too. It should really be a 14-0 game, but instead, it's just going to be 10-0 here. And so Georgia Tech only needing a field goal to get right back into the game. But Georgia Tech also is going to shoot itself in the foot as well. Georgia Tech put together a beautiful pass down the sideline, so figured that everything was going to be a-okay, but no. JoJo Evans is going to land on the fumble. And so with that being said, Georgia Tech on another drive, they'll eventually get a field goal, but Yellow Jackets, they'll be the first ones to tell you, not playing up to their standards right now at all. But Jackson is going to leave the door open. And are we going to see a pick six? Yes, we can. Touchdown, Georgia Tech. And the Yellow Jackets, just like that, just trying to do a little bit of a speed option. And Keontae Jenkins just gets a little bit too greedy there. So all of a sudden, we got a tied ball game. And this offense definitely needs to produce. Jenkins wants to try to run on 2nd and 6, and he puts the ball on the ground a second time. And it ends up being recovered a second time. This Panthers offense is just completely falling apart right in front of our eyes. This time, Cedric Franklin II with the fumble recovery. And so the Yellow Jackets have a chance to take the lead here, and they will, with a deep post getting completed right down Broadway. And Georgia Tech will indeed have their very first lead of the ball game with less than 6 minutes left. That's Eric Singleton Jr., who actually did enter the transfer portal in real life, but in this version, he stays around for the 2025 season. And Eric Singleton Jr. absolutely making his presence felt, splitting the safeties to perfection, and then using that foot speed to pull away. So now a critical part of the game here for FIU. It seems like Georgia Tech is leaning heavy on that momentum right now, and you can see why. I didn't even think that was a bad decision. That is just more of an incredible throw than anything else. Georgia Tech will be going ahead, and they will indeed take the lead. 17-10 now your score, and Georgia Tech will use that as an opportunity to get a field goal up, and that kick is good. And so remember, FIU did come out with a 10-0 lead here at the half. But then after that, Georgia Tech was able to eventually go out, get 30 unanswered points. And Jamal Haynes actually gets named player of the game, because while he didn't find the end zone at any point, he did find those tough yards in any given time. This is all because of the turnovers. FIU actually outgained Georgia Tech 434 to 384, but 5 turnovers is simply not going to win you a lot of games, especially against a power conference team, mind you. So with that being said, we have, I think, just a couple more games left in this episode, as now Jacksonville State will make the road trip down to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, to take on the Southern Miss Golden Eagles squad. Southern Miss trying to have a much better 2025 campaign, as Southern Miss is going to be led by Charles Huff, the former Marshall head coach, going forward. But it's going to be a tall task to rebuild this team, as Southern Miss was just 1-11 in the 2024 campaign. So this is going to be interesting to see how this turns out. On paper, should be a very even game. But, you know, the overall doesn't always tell the whole story, so to speak, as Zion Turner continues his good start that he established in that initial matchup in week number 1 against Mid-Tennessee State. And Zion Turner is going to throw yet another touchdown pass. That is going to be his 4th touchdown pass of the season. And thanks to that touchdown grab by the senior Demarius Lacey, the Gamecocks are off to another good start. And they're going to be up 10-0. Really have flipped the switch in that second half of the Mid-Tennessee State game. And we are certainly happy to report that that is still going, as Jacksonville State will score yet again. Zion Turner, this time finding his big, bulky old tight end. Another passing touchdown in the books there, as the freshman Alex Moore finds the end zone for this Gamecocks team. And it's 17-0 right then and there. So here we are late in the first half. Gamecocks are driving yet again. They have a chance to put a kill shot in potentially. This could be the one down the sideline, and he's gone. Touchdown, Jacksonville State. And the Gamecocks are going to score yet again. Another one on the board, making it 24-0. And Zion Turner just having a breakout moment. That's his third passing touchdown. Now, that pass could have absolutely been jumped, but hey, you know what? This game of football certainly is a game of inches, isn't it? So Jacksonville State is now up 24-0. And here's the crazy thing. They have one more chance in the end zone here. 1:05 left in the first half. But Zion Turner, you know, of course he can't have a perfect first half now, can he? He puts the ball on the ground. Hopefully it doesn't hurt them too terribly much in the grand scheme of things. But man, you know, you have all this momentum, up 24-0. And all of a sudden, Southern Miss starts on your side of the field. They are only going to get a field goal out of it. They can't punch it into the end zone themselves. But, I mean, just something for Golden Eagles to feel good about before going into halftime. And while it's still a convincing lead, right, 24-3 is an extremely convincing lead for sure. You don't want to give like an underdog any kind of breathing room, because eventually, sometimes, they will, in fact, take advantage of your kindness. However, it seems like Zion Turner is certainly not interested in that kindness at all, as Zion Turner, again with another deep ball, sets him up inside the 5-yard line. And Turner's going to hand it off to the tailback on the triple option. And it looks like the Gamecocks, stop if you heard this before, but they are going to be scoring yet again. And it is turning into an absolute blowout. Just really highlighting that, oh man, Southern Miss has a long way to go before they can be even thinking about a bowl game. And that should be just, this should be evident right here with the massive lead, up 34-3, as Southern Miss trying to make something happen there. I honestly don't know how that ends up being caught. I thought the coverage was actually phenomenal there. And in fact, if it was me using, trust me, that would have at least been an incompletion. But the freshman quarterback, John Polanco, who is starting for the purposes of, you know, like, he may not be as good as maybe some of the more experienced quarterbacks on the roster. He might be like second best quarterback from an overall standpoint, but as a freshman, you know, he's going to be the face of the program, and you know, you're not expected to compete still in 2025, even though he might be a better team. So, yeah, with that being said, John Polanco, you know, he might be a good quarterback someday. He certainly has the tools to be an effective quarterback at the FBS level. It's just, it's going to take some time, and it's going to be a lot of, I would say, growing pains here, as, you know, Southern Miss does at least get a couple of touchdowns on the board here in this third quarter of action, in particular, as Dakota Thompson, the senior, is going to score there. They're also going to opt to go for the 2-point conversion. It's going to be 34-16, but a score here does at least make it a 2-possession game, and John Polanco just never saw that DB whatsoever, man. Gets returned out of the end zone, but none of that really matters because it's going to be kicked off back to your Jacksonville State Gamecocks anyways. But, you know, with that being said, with with all that in mind, Michael McCarroll definitely read him like a book, right? So we'll cut to the third quarter here. Southern Miss does have a chance to make this at least moderately interesting here. Polanco with a touchdown could make this a firm 2-possession game, but that would also require Polanco to stop taking sacks. That's his 4th sack that he took today. It's just been that kind of day for the freshman quarterback, really making his college debut, as Polanco throwing across his body and very ill-advised throw there. That is exactly why you never, and I mean never, throw across your body. Whatever you do, I don't know how, I don't care how open he looks, but that is just something you absolutely do not do at any given time. And Polanco forgot that golden rule, so he threw another interception. And of course, your Jacksonville State Gamecocks dominate as Zion Turner continues to be on a tear there. 330, 3 touchdown passes as well. So if you're tracking this at home, that means Zion Turner in his first couple of games now has 6 passing touchdowns. But more importantly, this Jacksonville State squad is going to be 2-0. We'll get to keep it rolling in the future. All right, so one last matchup that we have, and it is Sam Houston, again, making a road trip to Utah State. So this is the second time that we will actually see the Utah State Aggies going to work here, as Utah State, we saw them here at home taking on UTEP. And they actually lost to UTEP. 27-17 was the final score. Was really a 1-possession game though, but of course UTEP had to go for the stat pad on the field goal. Sam Houston, on the other hand, they took on a conference opponent and they did beat FIU 30-20 in that particular opener. But now Sam Houston playing their first non-conference game of the 2025 campaign. But very reasonable to believe that Sam Houston could beat this Utah State squad. And what is that catch, bro? Oh my goodness! I just stood up in my chair. That's incredible. What a grab! Really saving the last game for arguably the best highlight in this entire episode. That is incredible work, as that's Otto Tia jumping on the ladder to help his quarterback out, and Utah State really coming that 7-0 lead. However, what I will say is that Sam Houston, they are going to, in fact, maintain their composure as of right now, though, as Sam Houston, they're going to respond early in the second quarter. We will see this Sam Houston squad get on the scoreboard for the very first time out here in Logan, Utah. And it's not even John Gentry, it's the backup running back DJ McKinney who's going to help Sam Houston time this game up. But then, after a inconclusive drive for the Utah State Aggies, Sam Houston gets back at it again with the light fans, as Hunter is going to fire over the middle and finds, this time, it is in fact going to be their starting tailback, John Gentry, the senior, that is going to be able to find the end zone. Touchdown, Bearcats! And the Cognac Cats are not going to be very much cardio now, will they? Since John Gentry, the senior, will go ahead and make it a 1st and goal opportunity inside the 5-yard line, where again this ground game is gonna go to work. DJ McKinney really making his presence felt really in the red zone, hasn't he? Backup tailback doesn't get a ton of opportunities, but what I will say is that he's certainly making the most out of his opportunities now, is he? And Sam Houston now their biggest lead of the day, 21-7 your score. But why am I showing special teams? Well, that is a really interesting question. That means something is about to go down here on special teams as he finds a crease down the sideline. One man left to beat. Can he catch him in time? No! Touchdown, Utah State. And boy, would that shift momentum. We don't have any flags on the field either, so this is absolutely going to count, as Herschel Turner, the sophomore on special teams, is going to go ahead and make it a 1-score game. But could it be for long, though? Maybe not. Yes, we did just take a sack there, and that's not ideal. but thankfully we do have a timeout that can be worked with, however. And so with that, Sam Houston will bring the field goal unit out. What a kick to end the first half as well. And you know, the Bearcats put together a pretty good first half of 24-14. We'll just see if they can keep it up for one more half of play as we'll go ahead and cut to about 8:15 left in the third quarter. Throwing to the right hand side, wide, but naked open. He's gonna be gone. Like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Sam Houston. The Bearcats get another one out on the scoreboard. And they are certainly taking their time and lining it up as he finds the senior wide receiver, Simeon Evans, all by himself too. I mean, you got 3 defenders in the area. I mean, that's just poor. That is just poorest miscommunication there. Inexcusable. I expect that a little bit more in the first game, but, you know, in the second game when you've already played a team, man, that is a big red flag for this Utah State team moving forward. But for Sam Houston, we are enjoying every single moment of it, aren't we? We're gonna get another one up on the scoreboard. That means that the 40 piece is indeed going to be in full effect here. Hunter Watson finds the end zone as well. And they could mess around and make this a 50 piece as well. And sure enough, no! Watson's gonna throw! And just wide butt naked open as well. The 50 piece is officially gonna be in full effect. Just a complete rout of this Utah State squad, man. And I mean, what can you do, you know, in times like this? Cooper Stevens, the freshman, getting involved there. And yeah, it was certainly barbecue chicken. A very competitive first half, I might add, but second half was all the Cardiac Cats, and Sam Houston is going to start out with a 2-0 start with Hunter Watson throwing for 4 touchdowns. Alright, so we made it through the first couple weeks of the season already. Well, technically 1 full week, but I mean, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? So here's what the AP poll is looking like after a couple weeks into the season. And right now, we don't really have a lot of noticeable movement at this point. You know, we do see like Nebraska, for example, like they do get to move up a couple of spots. And then Ohio State is actually only ranked number 18th in the country. They could be a little bit down, horrendous. Illinois is up a couple of spots. They're up to number 21 in the country. Pitt is up to 23. And then we have a couple of newcomers here, actually. Liberty, who made the college football playoff back in the initial season, well, they are already getting ranked at number 24 in the nation, while South Carolina is there at number 25. But this Liberty team being ranked in the top 25, this is a very good sign, because that's going to put them in a really good spot to make the college football playoff as the primary group of 5 representative. As you can see, like from the rest of the top 25, the only other G5 team that I can see right now is Memphis, and Memphis is only a couple of spots ahead of Liberty. So a very good sign for this Liberty squad moving forward. Alright, boys, so we get into week number 3 in the next episode, and I think we're just gonna make it one singular week, because look at this slate that we have. You know, we got some intriguing G5 matchups here, including a rivalry game between FAU and Florida International. UTEP is going to travel to Texas. Kennesaw State's playing Colorado. Liberty is going to try to remain ranked in the top 25 as they host Baylor. And then we have a few other matchups that have some G5 intriguement, closing out with New Mexico State. We're going to see them in a game for the first time. This will be their first nationally televised game, taking on Indiana, led by Kurt Sidnetti in his second year as the head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers. So this is all going to be waiting for us in the next episode. Appreciate your guys' patience, man. It took me a while to get this video recorded. We had some big changes in the personal life, so I appreciate y'all being patient, and I appreciate y'all rocking with me. If you enjoyed this Assembly content, though, make sure you go ahead and do a couple of things for me. Hit that like button, and then also hit that subscribe button as well if you do have to be brand new to the channel. This is JohnJake Gaming on the mic, signing off, but hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.